Hey Zaka family! Zaka is launching an exclusive membership platform to provide you with career development workshops, coaching, community, and so much more. Go to ZakaConnect.com and sign up to receive information on how to access early registration and perks. Hello, everybody. This is Paul Herman, the Prince of Motivation and host of Zaka Presents My Journey. We're creating this vulnerable and positive platform where you can get inspired and motivated from different leaders from our community. Today, our guest is Adriene Bueno, who is a senior community manager at LinkedIn and the founder of Bowler's Career. Welcome to the show, Adriene.
Thank you so much. It's awesome to be here.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. I know there's going to be a lot of information being shared tonight, and I know we have a little common denominator of sports. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to hearing your opinions and thoughts on, sports industry nowadays. It goes left and right sometimes, but we're gonna talk about that. But before we actually dive into your career and the business that you actually have, just give us a little bit more understanding of your cultural background and where you grew up.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm originally from San Jose, California, so Bay Area, born and raised.
Okay.
I'm Mexican and Filipino, and one of 5 kids. So, grew up with a really big family and, in sort of a mixed culture household. And, when people think of the Bay Area, they really think, tech, money, this and that, flashy stuff. But, Silicon Valley.
Yeah,
However,
sure.
me, I come from, a low income background, and the neighborhood in the Bay or in San Jose that I'm from is called, nicknamed Little Mexico. And, for me, I'm a first gen college grad, but the neighborhood I was in, I'm, again, low income, that, there was a lot of stuff that went down in my neighborhood growing up. So it's been a journey, but now I'm based out in New York.
Okay, so when did you make the commute over to the East Coast?
Oh, well, that's a tricky question. I've moved to New York 4 separate times, and the first time was
Not even visit. You moved to New York 4 times.
I moved to New York 4 times. Well, 2 times were for 2 summer internships.
Okay, yep.
And then full-time job and back again for a full-time job.
Okay, and we're going to talk about those full-time jobs and a few in those internships and a few and stuff. Talk to us a little bit more about what does your culture mean to you, and how does it drive you on a daily basis?
Yeah, so for me, culture is everything. So, like I mentioned, I'm Mexican and Filipino. So for both communities, it's like you got big families, and it's all about community at the end of the day. And that's really, really important to me. And I bring it into the work that I do every single day because, one, I want to be able to give back to the community that I'm from. So I've been, volunteering for different organizations over the years, and I'm a founding board member for SEEN, which stands for Sports and Entertainment Equity Network, that focuses on Black and Brown business professionals looking to elevate in the sports industry. So for those of you who are interested, highly recommend you guys join. I think the website is seencommunity.org. So
I like that little plug right there. I like that. You're about that life. You're like, look, if we're going to talk about helping, we're going to plug away right now.
Yeah.
Greatly appreciate that. Now, your childhood, growing up, how did that inspire you to get into the sports thing? Were you into sports growing up?
Yeah, absolutely. So I played volleyball, basketball, track, even a little flag football. I did it all, but the reason why I got into sports in the first place was because it was really just a way to stay out of trouble and not get caught up in
True. It was organized. I'm saying, versus just being out in the streets.
Yeah, exactly. And that was what my parents really wanted for me and my siblings. We couldn't really afford much, so we would go to play sports just outside with each other, because there's 5 of us. That's enough for a basketball team. So we were just hooping it up.
Who was the point guard?
Oh, me. Well, actually, all of us. All of us were point guards, but depended on which team you're on.
Okay. Okay.
I'm short. I'm only 5'2", so playing at the elite level was like absolutely not in the cards for me. But that was what inspired me to want to work in the sports industry later.
And that's amazing to have like a team of your family. Like
Exactly.
everyone's playing a position. We're going, mom and dad are like, we're getting in the car, we're gonna go to the park, and all 5 of y'all are gonna play against whoever who's on the court that day.
Exactly.
Right?
It was some intense game growing up. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, we were hyped about it. But I grew up, basically my whole childhood at the YMCA. That was
Yes, yes, yes. So YMCA is a very big place to engage in those types of sports. It's very beneficial for a lot of the youth, to be able to be exposed to those kind of things at an early age, right? Now,
yeah.
you said track, you said basketball, you said volleyball. I have to ask you this question right now. Which one of these sports was like your top one?
Oh, so it's hard because basketball is my favorite sport, period. Like I love playing, love watching, but I was actually better at volleyball. Like I was getting scouts looking at me for volleyball and I'm short and I'm like, my dad, I remember very clearly my dad one day was like, you got to decide, do you want to really like go after this? And I was just a dumb little kid and no one in our family had like played at the elite level, period. So I was like, oh, whatever. It's okay. No, I just want to play for fun. And now looking back on it, I wish my dad did push me harder, but it was kind of hard because we didn't have anyone to like talk to about that, figure that
True,
out.
true.
So yeah.
Don't, mate, but you're still doing it. And another
Yeah,
in
exactly.
another
I
capacity,
got it in
yeah.
a different way.
In a different way, yes. So like talk to me about some of the challenges and obstacles during your childhood that inspired you to be the person that you are today.
Yeah, so growing up, money was always tight. That was always the number one stressor, number one concern. I couldn't do many of the things that I wanted to do because uh, just money was tight. So, I'd ask my parents like, "Oh, can I go, on this field trip or do this and that?" And they unfortunately like we just couldn't meet the means, but it taught me very early on that the way that I can get to doing these things, like money is a vehicle to change, to influence, to, help me elevate in my life/career. So once I got to college, this is not like a good thing, but I was juggling like 4 jobs/internships. Like I was doing a lot out of just one pure need, but then also realizing like if I want to make this, if I want to make this work, I gotta like, figure it out. And, one thing that happened was I applied for an MBA internship. And at the time, I straight up thought like, just shoot your shot, like shoot your
Yeah, yeah, of
shot.
course, 100%.
And I did, and I got a call back, and then they were like, all right, I go through the interview stages. I get the internship. Here's the challenge. I'm a first gen college grad at UCLA or a student at UCLA. That's in LA. The
Yep, yep.
job and the internships all the way in New York. So in my head, I like accept the job. I'm like, sure, I can do this. But in reality, I had no idea how I was going to afford to make this trip to New York City. So I
And
hang up.
move all your stuff, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I hang up the phone and I'm like, dang, this is crazy. I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but I'll figure it out. So what I ended up doing was this is where I realized I need to tap into my community because I am resourced out myself.
Mhm.
And I started a GoFundMe and I just raised money in order to make that trip to New York. And I'm very happy that I did because that MBA internship was the one that truly unlocked the doors to my entire career in the sports industry. It helped me get my full-time job at the MBA after I graduated and was sort of that tipping point for me. And one day I hope to eventually start some sort of fund or, nonprofit that helps students who struggle to financially relocate to different, places to do these jobs because it is hard. And it sucks being able to not be able to do those things if you can't afford it. And
Yeah.
So
Because it's not like you're not qualified.
yeah,
It's just like,
exactly.
how do you even financially cover that? Which is
Precisely.
that's probably sometimes a big, and a lot of our guests have mentioned that before. They've said that like they had a lot of great opportunities. Some of them they have to actually turn down because financially it didn't make sense at the time. But
Absolutely.
you found a way to do that, and I commend you for that because you had to be very vulnerable at that point in time. You
Mhm.
had to actually expose yourself and say, "Hey, look, I need help to make this happen." How did you feel when you had to let the world know or your community know that you were looking to raise money to go to New York?
Yeah, it was a hard experience to go through the, mindset shift of, I can do this all by myself. Like so many of us like feel we have to do things on our own, but also realizing, we don't have parents who can just be like, here you go, you got this.
Let me cut that check for you.
Exactly. So it was a big moment of me realizing I need to be vulnerable about this. And for a long time, like even after that happened, like when I was interning at the NBA, I didn't tell anyone about like how I was able to make it out there. Like ain't nobody's business, but at the same time, like I realized that I'm not alone in
Mhm.
running into these challenges, and it needs to be talked more about because most people see the end result like, oh, you got this great internship or you just did this cool job or whatever, but the reality is like there's a struggle, there's these barriers that so many people of color and people from marginalized communities aren't able to overcome on their own.
Mhm. Now, going back to your educational background, what was your major?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. My major is called World Arts and Cultures,
Hmm.
and it has nothing to do with sports, nothing to
I'm
do
just,
with
I'm like reading this stuff. I'm like, hold on now. I'm thinking sports management. Some's gonna tap into that, but I'm like, let's talk about this major. And how did your educational journey prepare you for the sports career? Like, how did we find this connection?
Yeah, so transparently, UCLA is a very tough school to get into, and there's so many different majors out there. And I realized that certain majors were more difficult to tap into. One, UCLA didn't have a sports management major at all, so that option wasn't even on the table. But
What?
yeah, I know. I know.
We need to call the school.
Right. They do.
Zaka
Okay.
needs to put a call out.
I'll caveat with they do have a master's program that does have some sports and entertainment component, but it's not for undergrad. So I wasn't able to really tap into that at the time. So I'm going through my world arts and cultures major. I'm realizing, you know what, I'm just going to stick with this and actually focus more on gaining experience and building connections. So I was doing my major, getting the education around world arts and cultures, which in some ways like have helped me, tap into like the creative side of who I was. I had, dance classes or like some videography classes, those sort of things. But primarily I focused my energy into the experience and networking for my job search.
Mhm. Now, when you mentioned the keyword job search, like how hard was it to find that first job in the sports? And
Oh
like
yeah.
what challenges you face like to find the right opportunity? Because obviously applying for jobs is sometimes I want to say it's not the easiest thing, but just a click of a button sometimes. Like people get into that system. Like how hard was it to find the right job?
Yeah. So it was incredibly hard to find the first job in the sports industry for me and the right opportunity as well. What went into it was me realizing I'm coming at this disadvantage. I No one in my entire family has ever worked in a corporate job, period. No one I knew worked in the sports industry at all. I because I didn't have the experience of, having a family member that I could intern under or,
Yeah.
the education, sports management education. I was sort of just like at the wall, realizing that I did not have at least what it took in that moment. So what happened was the when you're in college, I feel like a lot of times people like to zone in on what's just right in front of them. And that was, the case for me because I didn't know any better. I just thought UCLA athletics, that's the only option I have available to work in the sports industry. So I applied for this marketing position and I put all my eggs in that one basket. Somehow I miraculously get an interview, but I bomb it. It was a terrible interview. I'm over here sweating.
That's the worst. When you walk out of there, you're like, you rehearsed everything prior. You're like,
Exactly.
I'm going in, and you get there, and it's like it just starts to go downhill. And you're like, every question, every answer you're giving, you're like, ugh, ugh.
Exactly. Yeah. Like the whole time I'm just stressing and sweating bullets and stuff. And I actually almost quit after that because I thought that that was it. And what I realized is in the sports industry, you gotta have thick skin. So what I what I did instead was like, okay, let me focus on like some lower hanging fruit. Let me start with volunteering. Like they're not going to say no to me volunteering out here. So
True.
what I did
Smart,
was,
smart.
exactly. What I did was I volunteered for UCLA athletics departments. Now I understand why it was a volunteer opportunity because no one wanted to do what I'm about to tell you. Basically,
Spill the tea.
so there's the Rose Bowl, thousands and thousands of seats. This was pre-advanced technology that we have today. The job that I was assigned was to basically go around the entire stadium and put flyers on every single seat that was available for season ticket holders. So I'm just going up and down these stadium stairs trying to figure out, okay, just putting out these flyers. I'm not really interacting with other people, but like, shoot, maybe this will lead to something. It did. I'm in the lunchroom. I'm talking to this one girl. She says, oh yeah, I work in the athletics department for student athlete recruiting. I'm like, okay, that's cool. At the time I was doing a call center job where I was basically telling students who got into UCLA, high school students who got into UCLA, hey, you got into UCLA, here are all the benefits, here are all the, the things that come with you accepting the opportunity to join the school. So I'm basically selling the school already. So I'm like, okay, I can do that in this role for student athletes. And that's what led me to finding that right opportunity, was volunteering and doing the job that no one else wanted to do. But yeah, that helped me.
Rain, sleet, and snow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of seats, girl.
Yeah.
Was it a team of you guys doing that?
Oh yeah, I was a team. I wasn't the only person. It was just it wasn't.
I was sweating bullets for you right now. Because you were like, no one wanted to do it. And I'm like, she was by herself? Oh, yeah. But I mean, but that also brings a certain type of grit, you know what I'm saying? Like and a hustle to you, where you're like, okay, well, this is my job. I'm going to get it done. Right. Now, through your career, looking at your bio, reading the bio, right? You have worked with some major brands, right? And listeners, I'm going to let you know, I'm going to ring off a few of them right now. We got the NBA, we got Adidas, we have the Clippers, right? We have Electronic Arts, and we also have LinkedIn, right? And there's another company, which I'll talk about in a few, right? But just out of all those companies, I mean, and obviously there's a lot more, but like, what do you think is the most important quality that has helped you navigate through these roles in building a professional brand as a leader?
Yeah, so I'll go up to two things. You guys hear me?
Keep on.
Hey. Okay, I think we're good now. Sorry, I heard some feedback. Great. Yep. So to answer your question, there are two things that I definitely live by that helped me land all these opportunities over the years. The first one is to create your own opportunities. So identifying gaps and creating solutions. For many years, I thought that I had to wait on someone, that someone had to, unlock the secrets to working in the sports industry. And what I realized is, to your point about having grit, it takes that grit combined with creative thinking to identify where are the opportunities that I'm able to, pivot into, and sorry, my brain just stopped working.
You got it.
Let me restart that one. Okay. So there are two opportunities that really stuck out to me through my career journey over the years. The first one is all about creating your own opportunities. And I definitely live by this one because what I realized is that you cannot rely on someone else to open the doors for you. Now, I'm the first person to say, like, open the door for the next person, but at the same time, you have to have that grit in you to be opening doors yourself. You got to find those, creative ways to unlock opportunities in the industry and sort of go out there and going to get it yourself. And then the second thing that's connected to that is to always keep learning and sharing what you learn with others. When you get in a point in your career, and I'm sure many of us have experienced this, you might hit a plateau. You might just have learned all there is to learn in the position that you're at. And when you hit that, there's a few things that happen. One, you get bored.
Yeah,
You get bored. And 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 then from there you might just be not motivated to be doing what you're doing because you already sort of tapped out on all there is to learn in that position. And I think a lot of times people get comfortable with where they're at, and there's nothing wrong with being comfortable, especially if you're like, I'm making good money, I'm happy, awesome. Now the challenge comes in is when you're bored, you just might not be wanting to output the whatever goals that the organization is putting out for you. At the end of the day, these companies are out here, doing things for themselves. You got to look out for you. So, if you're inspired and interested to keep learning and growing, go ahead and take that leap. And then again, create those opportunities for yourself.
I like how you said fill the gap with an opportunity. A lot of the guests previously have said something along those lines. They had mentioned that even when they were climbing up that corporate ladder, for the ones that were in corporate America, they had to make a choice. They were like, well, there wasn't something here, so then I created it, right? And then now I'm the leader of it, and I also have 20 people in this club or this organization that's inside of our company, right? And then also on the outskirts as well too, when the individuals that were working in like a corporate job, and then they said, you know what, there's a gap when it comes to this kind of stuff. Let me fill it with this opportunity. So I'm glad that you were able to kind of navigate through those two major things right there, and that's a big role too to kind of take on, because who knows if they're going to accept it, filling that opportunity. You don't even know if it's going to be successful. But again, you got to take the risk on yourself. The biggest risk you should take is always on yourself.
Right? Absolutely. And I do have one more thing to add to that. When it came to my job at LinkedIn, for 3 years before I got the job I have at LinkedIn today, I was looking for the job. I was trying to find
the job at LinkedIn. You were looking for the job at LinkedIn.
Yeah. So my job at LinkedIn, I was looking for the role that I currently hold. It just didn't exist yet.
Oh,
and
okay.
Right. And I'm hitting up people. It's leading nowhere. It was what it was. So what I do in the meantime, I didn't wait for the company to go on and do things, but I did focus my energy in gaining more skills, gaining more experience, creating content, utilizing the platform. And eventually it led to a recruiter hitting me up on LinkedIn about a LinkedIn opportunity. So, you never know, your job that you want may not even exist yet. And you may just, need to wait a year or two and it may come back around.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, the job that you're at currently, you envision yourself doing it at LinkedIn. It just never existed.
Exactly.
But because you took the opportunity to handcraft yourself by taking the time to read and seminars and all the things that you were doing, coaches and mentors, possibly along those lines, it then led to a recruiter hiring you for that position, or they did just try to hire you and say, what position would you like to have?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of the both. So
Okay.
it was there's this community management team that I'm part of. It was brand new at the time. They were still building it out. And throughout the interview process, I was sort of pitching like sports athletes, let's go. And that's actually what it turned into. So it was a combination of them needing someone to fill this opportunity, and then also me coming with the solutions, with the ideas, and just being like, you know what, I'm gonna shoot my shot and see what happens and see what sticks, and it stuck.
Mm. And now with all of this going on, I know that you're very successful at LinkedIn, and I know that again, I always like to talk about our previous guests. A lot of our previous guests have always spoken about their side hustle, and not even just their side hustle, just the passion that they have. It goes well past the office, right? They wanted to kind of expand on it a little bit more, right? So could you talk to us a little bit more about side business and like that you do as well?
Yeah, so I started a business called Baller Careers back in 2018. And at the time, I actually did not have a job. I had left my dream job at the NBA, and I was kind of just in this rut of what do I do now? And I realized that there were so many people who were struggling with their job search of landing jobs in the sports industry. So I decided, you know what? There is this gap in the market of people who need help with their career that aren't students anymore. They're just out, in their full-time jobs, and they need guidance on how to make a career pivot into sports or level up in their sports career and have that one-on-one support. So, I started back in 2018 and haven't looked back since.
Well, congratulations, man. And now it's just you by yourself running this?
Yeah, as of right now, it's just me.
Wow, you just be juggling a lot. Because it even started in your childhood when you were like, I juggle several sports. Then you went to college and juggled several jobs. And now you out here working at the LinkedIn and doing what you do best, but then also juggling this as well, and which is very successful. So congratulations again on another great thing. You are really, really, really engulfed into the whole sports thing. Like I met a lot of individuals in my time that love sports, but you're like, you want everything in your life to be a part, to be connected to sports, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
I love when people find that type of connection where they're like, I love it so much. And not just one sport. You love sports in general.
Yeah. And I
Which is
really
great.
love sports business. Like, I love sports, but I love sports business. I love that sports is a vehicle for literally any conversation, any touch point in life, any learning. Sports can do just so much. And I think that's why I love working with people who also have that passion and drive to want to work in the industry.
Mm-hmm. Now, what is being a role model mean to you? And why is it important for you in to be someone of an inspiration?
So I have a trouble with accepting that I'm a role model, mainly because of imposter syndrome.
Girl, you definitely holding it down. Trust. You're certified on my end.
Yeah, but I do think that the imposter syndrome in me is sometimes like, am I a role model? I don't know. But I do think that anyone could be a role model, even if you, and this took me a while to realize, is if you have information where you are 5 steps ahead of the person behind you or the person that you used to be, you can educate that person
Yes.
and
True.
help that person, even if you're only 5 steps ahead of them, even if you're only 1 step ahead of them. And I think that's what being a role model means to me. And what's important about it is how can I continue to educate the next generation of sports professionals who are looking to level up in their career and have leaders that look like them. I'm Latina, I'm Filipino. Like I don't know how many people in the industry identify as mixed and also come from those backgrounds, but being able to say, like, this is me, I'm going to show up, I'm going to do what I can do and make sure that others in the industry know, this could be you could be leveling up in your career just as much as the next person. And that's, what I really want to bring to the next generation.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to the next generation, I know you do career coaching, sports industry career coaching, right? So you're helping out future generations. Why is it so hard for candidates who look to land in a career in sports on major teams? Like, what is like the struggle, that they kind of face? Like, how do you navigate that for them?
I think there's a few things. One of the big things is financially being able to accept opportunities that are in the ranges specifically for sports teams. Traditionally in the sports industry, working for teams isn't the most profitable space in the industry. So, however, the passion to want to work for your sports team, to want to work in, community relations for those sports organizations, or even just, working close to talent and showing up with your skills and expertise, like all of that's great, but half the time, like the financial piece of it is such a hard thing to work with in the sports industry. However, if the finance piece isn't as much of a challenge, the next piece is knowing the right people. It's a very hard industry to break into for a reason, and it's because so many times the doors just are closed, and if you're not positioning yourself as someone who's already in the industry, it can be hard to make that jump. So my advice for people who are in the shoes of, you've tried everything you can and you're not able to, get an introduction to or connected to someone who works in a sports team or something like that, reevaluate, how am I showing up on, my social media presences, because before you even talk to someone, you might be shooting them a message, but if they're looking at, your profile and they're not seeing the full picture of who is this person, what are their skills, why are they even interested in sports, that's going to be a hard thing for them to, sort of piece together on their own. So I recommend just sort of doing that evaluation of how can I be presenting myself in the best way possible and telling my story and what I bring to the table. And that'll help, people level up and getting those conversations and at least getting, that first foot in the door to talking to people who work for these sports organizations.
And that also goes to like social media that you're talking about, right?
Exactly.
Photos, videos, just constantly keep on putting yourself, because you said it kind of right there. You said, well, they want to know who they're following, who they're buying into, right? So having updated kind of footage of you in the sports games or even practice and rehearsals would truly help out in regards to that.
Exactly. And I think it's volunteering. I think not enough people realize how much volunteering and leadership skills can translate to your work, whether you are this full-time business professional and you volunteer for, your local sports league or team or whatever, like that all counts. That's work. That's experience. And I don't think enough people take credit for those things. Take your credit. You got what it's like. Even if you have a podcast or something else going on that, you might interview people in sports, or you may have a blog that talks about this, but not a million people are reading it. That's fine. It's still experience. You still have the skills.
When I was young, I used to think my volunteer work wasn't credible. I used to be like, I volunteered at the Boys and Girls Club or the YMCA or something like that. I'm like, I'm not gonna put that on my resume. But then as I got to college and they were asking for where have you volunteered, I was like, wait, hold on. You actually want to know? And they were like, this is gonna help you possibly get into the school. And I started to think back, like, but it goes to show that even your volunteer work, one, it can be utilized for when you're applying for other organizations and companies, but also it's a great tool to help you learn a lot more about yourself and about the industry that you're possibly going to go into. And you took advantage of that when you were younger and working in all these various different jobs. And you're like, all right, let me do it. So it's good. And then also when you were younger as well too, with all these sports, like it just connected you. Learning the language of different sports is a big thing too. And navigating from a baseball conversation to a football conversation to a track and field conversation, so different. So you speak a lot of sports language. I can only imagine.
Yeah, and I actually didn't learn about the rules to football till I played flag football. It took me, trying out for our junior and senior year high school flag football power puff team to learn how to play the game, to actually enjoy watching the game. But after that, also I was
there's some people that watch the Super Bowl don't even know what's going on.
It's okay.
They're like, first off, they probably don't even know who's playing, right? But then, second of all, you don't even know what's going on. You just know that someone made it into the end zone and someone goes like this, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a language. It's a language of sports, and some people just fall in love with it, and other people it takes a while for them to get into that. Now, when you were talking about your company, right? What has been like the most fulfilling on a personal but also professional level for you? Like, what's been like one of the most fulfilling things that you've done?
I would say being able to impact people who work in the sports industry who took the advice that I shared, because I create content around how to get jobs in the sports industry on LinkedIn, on TikTok, and sometimes I just feel like I'm talking into a void, and I don't know if people are actually listening or implementing the things that I'm telling them to take into consideration for their career. However,
Mm.
knowing that when they do that, I'm getting messages from people. Sometimes I'm at a networking event, someone comes up to me and says, "Hey, I followed your advice and was able to land jobs in the sports industry doing the, X, Y, and Z." And that has me so hyped because I just remember all the struggles that I went through,
Yep, yep.
the mistakes I made. So many of them are so embarrassing. Like, we talked through a few of them, but really just realizing, they don't have to go through those hardships and are able to just jump right in and dominate and show who they are and what they bring to the table and are at the table. I feel like so many times we're not even at the table, and being able to help them, elevate in their careers is nothing makes me happier than knowing that like people are able to see a clear picture and a
Mm.
direction to what it takes to make it to the next level in sports.
That helps clear directions. If you're trying to get into something, especially where in this industry where people say you're one in a million, without direction, right? It would make it seem a lot longer distance to kind of get to it. But if you have a little bit of coaching and some mentoring and some really good advice, you could definitely kind of close some of these doors on the way there and kind of walk that straight path. And it's a beautiful thing to always watch someone grow, right? To see something flourish and blossom right there in front of you. Some people don't even know that they have the talents and the gifts to actually be on that field, right? They're questioning it, but individuals like yourself are there to kind of help them get there. And then, I can only imagine going to a game and seeing somebody that you actually work with and being like, yeah, I got them there, and I'm happy for them, right? It's a beautiful, beautiful thing to watch. So kudos to you because, like you said, like you gotta be willing to give in order to receive, and you've received a lot of blessings along your way, but you've also given a lot as well on your journey. Now, a lot of your life and your career, your business, you definitely worked on cultivating some amazing relationships, right, within your career. Could you speak on any of those relationships that have kind of like translated into like a partnership or something, a future endeavor?
Yeah, so one of my clients, she was looking to work for a sports team, and she eventually landed an opportunity to working in DEI for the Minnesota Vikings. And once she was in that opportunity, this is how you guys know the sports industry is super small, like so many events, things going on. But I had been invited to attend an event called Creators of Color, by hashtag sports, and they hosted the event in Minnesota. And I fly out to Minnesota. She's there working the event. And because she was one of my clients, she goes and introduces me and connects me to all the different, Vikings team and staff that are, at the
Okay.
organization. And basically was like, hey, Adriene's amazing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe she's saying all this. but
It's
she's
my girl.
like, just plug. But she's basically plugging me to all these different people at the org, and what it's led to is now I'm going to be doing different workshops for the associates program within the Minnesota Vikings and helping elevate the career development for the associates that that are participating in this program. So you can just really tell the sports industry is so small. There's so many times where I've had this manager that I was working for, as a college student, and fast forward to today, she's now asking me for like LinkedIn content best practices, and I'm working with her. So you may at one stage in your career be the, what do you call it, like the young Padawan or whatever, and then now fast forward to a few years later, you have more insights or knowledge about a specific topic and are able to, give back and educate the people that you used to report to and had manage you. So
Sure.
it's just crazy how as you grow in your career, you can be giving back to the same people who gave to you.
Mm, mm. I like that little story right there. I like how she was putting you on, and it wasn't like you asked to be put on. It's just genuinely she knew where you were, and she knew that the opportunity was there, and she was able to kind of like navigate that for you. So that's a blessing when you have your close friends and family members, speak highly of you to those individuals and get you at the table, right? Because sometimes all it takes is a conversation, hey, and an introduction, you know. But if people don't believe in you enough, they probably won't just put their name on the line. They'll be like, you know what? We're just gonna keep it moving. They probably say hello to their associates and friends, but not introduce because they don't want to put themselves in a situation where you might drop the ball. But it goes to show you would definitely qualify. Another certification right there. You were just certified. Yeah. Now, talk to me about being part of Sports Business Journal, New Voices Under 30. What does that mean to you? To me, that's a big accomplishment, but I want to know from you, what is that?
Yeah, in the sports industry, this is like our equivalent to like Forbes 30 under 30. So it was a huge honor. And what it really symbolizes to me is that the efforts for different professionals in the industry are really being recognized. And so much in our career for people of color, it's hard to stop and just recognize and acknowledge, like, hey, you're doing something good. Like, so much times it's just like work, like, keep going, keep pushing. I know, all of us who are here and everyone listening, like, you're high achievers. If you're listening to this podcast, you're a high achiever who's looking to really level up. So, that
100%.
award for me meant like, okay, Adriene, pause, recognize what this opportunity is in this moment, and just acknowledge all the things that you've accomplished over your career, because you can be working, but if you're not recognizing the opportunities in front of you and the wins and celebrating just the great things you've accomplished, like, what's it all for? And for me, it also meant like really honor my family. Like, it's an honor for my family, like me representing my family and being able to say, like, we did this, like, you guys helped me get here to where I am today, and I couldn't do this without you. So got to celebrate those wins with the ones you love.
Shout out to your community, the starting five, your family. And also mom and dad as well, so they're the coaches right there. But you're starting five right there, because you said it was 5 of y'all, right?
Yep.
Starting
lots
5.
of cats and dogs too, so
But that's why you're in New York now.
Yeah,
you're in New York. But congratulations on that right there, because that's obviously, like you said, it's like Forbes under 30. So to be a part of something like that, you've been acknowledged, recognized on a larger level, larger scale. So it lets people know again that, you take your business, you take your profession very serious, and not only you see that, but other people within the community and within the industry see that as well. And they want to also highlight you on that platform. So kudos to you, because not everybody gets that opportunity, right? So, and on top of that, you got your own business, right? You got just a lot going on right there. So kudos, you're just doing it up. Now, finally, how do you see the landscape, right, of the sports business, the industry evolving over the next few years? Now, I know there's a whole AI stuff and all this other stuff going on, right? And I know there's a lot of things that we're probably not privileged to know about within the sports industry until it actually comes up. But like, what do you feel like? What is the role do you envision yourself playing in this evolution?
So can you hear me? Okay, sorry, sounded like a robot for a second. So for the sports industry, the future that I see is, one, AI is definitely going to have a major impact on every part of the business. And you aren't already playing around with ChatGPT or experimenting with tools like Midjourney, please start doing it now. You don't necessarily have to change your entire life, but just test out the tools. Have it write an email or even a text message for you, because that tool and tools that are similar going to be AI related in the workplace are going to be influencing every aspect of our job until I guess it gets massively regulated or whatever. But in the meantime,
regulated. I like that. You said the key word, regulated.
exactly. I'm like, wait, we gotta reel it back real quick. But seriously though, with AI, it is a skill that all of us collectively need to learn. It's just, it's I would say the equivalent of learning the internet or learning how to use a phone. That is how I see it influencing us in our career, in our day-to-day job. I also think there's going to be a few shifts in the industry. One around, there's already layoffs happening in sports and across all industries really, but I think there's these layoffs occurring, and then there's AI, and what it's going to do is with AI, it's going to shift. Okay, there have been all these layoffs. How can AI help professionals in the workplace do their job, better, faster, more efficiently, et cetera? So for professionals who are on that job hunt right now, that's going to help you in your journey if you're able to skill up in learning some of these tools. You don't got to be experts, but just again, test them out.
Test them out.
And I see, hopefully I want to create, actually, I do eventually want to create a maybe like AI course or a program that can help people who are in their job and they don't need to learn all the tools, but what are the 3 core tools that can help you in your job search today, or in your work today, around AI tools and helping you sort of elevate to that next level. And I also would like to get more into the transparency space. So what I mean by that is so many more companies and states are requiring salary transparency, and how can we continue to make that information readily available for all professionals everywhere? Because everyone's out here getting lowballed because, one, we just don't have access to the information and the insights to know, oh, like this is the regular range for how much people are making in the industry.
Sure.
And you don't have friends who are already working there to like give you the inside scoop or anything. So I want to be more involved in the transparency piece of people hiring and elevating in their career as well. So I'll be probably working on something around that.
And again, more juggling on your side. You about that life. But I like how you're always creating. You're always thinking of it. And you said something that was very valuable. You said AI is like learning the internet. It's like learning how to use a smartphone. When the internet came out, people were like, oh, the internet, right? Look at the internet now, right? When the smartphone came out, people were like, look, let's just stay to the normal. We don't need all this extra stuff. But look at it. Everybody wants the latest phone, right? So I'm glad that you're saying that, and that people need to kind of acknowledge that that's where we're going. And since you're a part of that industry, the fact that you're saying that your industry, your sports industry, is going to be utilizing some of that as well too. Some people think that only is going to be affected in like in the law industry or the tech industry, right? They're not thinking sports would have that type of back and forth, that conflict sometimes with AI. But hey, you're letting us know in advance, so thank you for your guidance and also for your knowledge and support. Yes, Adriene, thank you so much for just your time, your knowledge, your passion for sports, and you definitely love it. You love your job, and it reads not only within your bio and your resume and all the things that I've seen, but also in our conversation today. So kudos to you for this, finding your passion and your love for something that, some people look for years, and sometimes never find it. You definitely did. And I'm glad that it's taking you to so many different businesses, so many different organizations, because to work for these companies, it would take someone sometimes a lifetime. But because you're connected to your passion, it just happens. and look where you are right now. So kudos to you. Congratulations. Much success on you and your business as well too. Any last final words for our listeners?
No, just thank you all for listening, and going back to one of my core things to share with you. Please keep creating your own opportunities. You got it already in you. Everything that you need to get to where you want to be is already within you. So go for it.
Okay. Well, to the listeners, want to let you know, if you want to hear about more inspirational stories like Adriene, please check us out on ZakaConnect.com. Follow our social at Zaka Connect, and follow our feed, Zaka, wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Thank you, Paul.